I was returning home late at night, riding some old, unpleasant bus that barely dragged. Not only that, it was so packed with people that I had to stand, holding onto the back of the seat with my hand. Our dirty, gray city floated past the windows, which looks much better at night through the streetlights than during the day, when all its flaws are obvious. In a little while, I will finally be in my apartment. I will have dinner and go to bed. Still, combining work and study is not easy. Fortunately, I owe this to the college, which organizes these, so to speak, part-time jobs. In addition, I have to rent a 2-room apartment not far from the center. The apartment, of course, is without any cracks or crevices in the walls that would crumble here, but there is nothing special about it either. Just a typical apartment. Having reached my stop, I sighed with relief, lit a cigarette, and set off home on foot. On the way, I bought some groceries. And here I was already climbing the stairs to my 3rd floor. I opened the door, went into the apartment, undressed, washed my hands, and washed myself. I went into the kitchen. First of all, began to unpack the package with groceries. During this, I remembered that I had completely forgotten to buy oil and butter. And at that moment, I was overcome with disappointment, because back in the afternoon, I had planned to fry a whole pan of potatoes with sausages and meat in the evening, and just have a quiet dinner. I decided to unpack everything I had brought and quickly run to the store. It was already about 11 p.m., quite late. I had to get dressed again. I left the entrance, closed the door, and calmly walked to the store. On the way, I met a drunken stranger. He asked for some money. It's good that he was not aggressive. Having bought what was missing, I moved back. The street lights dimly illuminated our dirty street. Suddenly, I was distracted by some strange sound from the corridor. Over time, I realized that this sound was intrusive, persistent, and it had not stopped for 10 minutes. I left the kitchen and went to the corridor, from where I heard a knock. Someone was very insistently and persistently knocking on the door. Someone was very persistently knocking on the door. When I approached, I asked, "Who is there?" Knocked. Silence. I looked through the peephole, and at that moment I heard someone quickly coming downstairs. No, not running, just walking quickly. And I didn't have time to work out who it was. Then I went back to the kitchen and sat down to eat. A movie was playing on TV in the background. And then there was another knock. This time it was even more insistent, as if someone really needed to tell me something. I went to the door again, immediately looked through the peephole, and there was no one there. An empty stairwell. Children, I guess, I thought. I don't know. They must be bored. That's why they're making a fuss. But then it dawned on me. What kind of half hour is it? It's already night. Real night. And in general, if it were children, I would hear laughter, stomping, at least some sounds. And then there's deafening silence. I'm standing in the hallway and looking at the front door. There is a peephole there, and you can see through it that the light is on in the hallway again. And suddenly, I notice that something is blocking it. As if someone has stood in front of the door and closed the peephole with themselves. And then, back into the light. I stand there, not understanding what is happening, and ask, "Yes, who is there?" "Grandma, is that you? Come in, for God's sake, I'm at home." And I reached for the door to open it. Maybe you'll all say now that I'm a fool.
I finished my plate, thinking about this incident. But to be honest, there was not a single conscious thought in my head. I got angry and decided to take a hot bath before going to bed. I got some water, turned off the lights everywhere, locked myself in the bathtub with a bolt. I got into the bathtub and began to relax a little. And then I hear someone pulling the door handle. I instantly got goosebumps all over my body. It became cold even in the hot water. My hands trembled, my eyes went dark, my heart pounded like crazy. Because firstly, I was home alone. And secondly, there was a small crack at the bottom of the bathroom door, and I saw hands there. Inhuman hands. Some black, thin ones. On the long fingers, there was something like claws. It was scraping the door from below and at the same time trying to press the handle from above. My horror simply knew no bounds. I couldn't even breathe normally. What was this? Where did it come from? What was happening anyway? I grabbed the edge of the bathtub with my hands and sat as quietly as I could, not moving. I just looked at those hands. For some reason, it seemed to me that no more than an hour had passed. It turns out I had been sitting in the bathroom for almost 3 hours. I checked my phone and saw a missed call from my classmate. I don't know why he was calling me so late. I'm standing in the kitchen, thinking about all this, and suddenly I hear footsteps behind me. Someone is walking very quickly from the corridor, straight towards me. I was struck by wild fear. I looked around sharply and saw a dirty gray body. Bluish swollen veins, deep rotten wounds, teeth and sharp, pointed, rotten. The hands are also black and long. Instead of clothes, some old stinking rags, disheveled hair. And the smell is simply unbearable, like that of a corpse. It stood in the back of the apartment and licked its teeth, peering at me with black, hollow eyes. Damn it, forgot to check the closet. I didn't have to open the front door.